Hi, it's Dr. Noni, and it's so lovely to be back in Canada, Saskatchewan, the land of the sunny skies. And I'm going to be talking about something which is quite keenly debated, as we could see in the elections south of the border. It's something that affects us all. In fact, if you're watching this video, it affects you. It's something that affects people, male, female. It affects you whether you're rich or poor, and it affects you whether you are in the third world, in the developing world, as they say, or in the Western world. It affects everyone. It's a universal situation. Before I get into the topic, I must say thank you to my new subscribers. It's always lovely to have new people who encourage me with their subscription, which is free, by the way. So if you have a YouTube account, all you have to do is press subscribe, and that way whenever I produce a new video, then you get to know about it first and be able to comment and interact. And I really love hearing your comments and your reactions to the video. And also, I'm here to help people. I'm here to give reliable medical advice which you can trust, because I am a triple qualified doctor. And so, I wouldn't give you any bad information as far as I know. And so, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. And today's topic will be no less relevant to your practice if you're a doctor, and to you as a lay person as well. So without any further ado, I have to also say, drum roll. I have reached over 40,000 views, so I'm really grateful to God for helping me this far and giving us the grace to keep going, my producer and I. So thank you, CMS, for all your help. So the topic today is the ABCD of contraception. Contraception is contrary to seption, to being conceived. So if you're watching this video, that means you were conceived, you're alive, right? And so you are not prevented from coming to the world. But we know that many women and many men don't want to have children. In fact, I had a guy recently who came to me. He said he's never had any children and he wants to have a vasectomy. I thought, okay. He said he's been trying to get a vasectomy since he was in his 20s, so he didn't want to have any children. And we know there are women also who do not want to have any offspring as well, or maybe they have had some children and they've had enough, and they don't want to have any more. So I run a contraceptive clinic in Saskatchewan, in my family practice, and I do get referrals from people, other doctors whose patients need contraception advice. So this is what I do, and I also did the training in the UK. So that's my credentials for the advice I'm about to give you. So what I thought to do was to make it interesting and a bit more, something you could understand. And I thought to myself, let me see if I can do an ABCD of contraception. And so I put some things together of different ways you can prevent an unintended pregnancy. Because as we all know, prevention is better than cure, right? I mean, there's a saying that precedes us all, why boat the stable after the horse has departed, right? So you want to prevent the pregnancy in the first place. So I thought, can I come up with an ABCD of contraception? And I think I have. So listen up. I'm going to get my glasses on for this. So my first one is A, obviously, the first letter of the alphabet. And A is for abstinence. Now, we all know that to get pregnant, you've got to have some activity, eh? So if you abstain from the activity, you're not going to get pregnant. It's as simple as that. I have many young women in my practice who do not want to be sexually active or feel under pressure to do so. Tell them, Dr. Noni said, I don't have to. I can be abstinent, and it is a thing. Yes, it is the best way, actually, of not getting pregnant. So B is for barrier methods. So barrier, as you know, is when you put an obstacle so that something doesn't happen. So there are barrier methods which you can use to prevent pregnancy, which brings me to the next one, which is letter C. So C is for condoms. So condom is the most common, very, very well-known contraception method. This is used by the male mostly, and it is available all over the world. I mean, even third world countries have condoms. You can go into a local pharmacy or store and purchase yourself some. So that's barrier methods. But for the female, there's also the cervical cap. It's not very well known method, but it does exist. It's particularly in the UK with the family planning clinics. You can go and get a cervical cap. You'll be shown how to use it, and you'll be measured for it, and that. So that's C. So now it brings me to letter D. So D is for the diaphragm. So the diaphragm is also a barrier method, which is also used by women. It's placed inside the vagina, and you use it to cover the cervix so that you prevent the sperm from getting into the reproductive tract, and that's how that method works. So we're down to D. So the E is for emergency contraception. So we all know that with the best will in the world, condoms may split, typical caps may not work as well, and so there is emergency contraception. So emergency contraception is what you use, as the name implies, as an emergency. You have tried your best to prevent contraception, but it didn't go to plan. So there is emergency contraception, and the pharmacist or your doctor or your nurse practitioner, if you're in Canada, can advise you on the options there. So F is for female condoms. They do exist, not as popular, but there is that option as well. So G is slightly more, I hope it's a bit of humor. G is go away, go home, go to a safe place, get out of the trouble area, right? So if you feel that you're at risk of being maybe assaulted or having an unintended pregnancy, why don't you just go away from that situation, right? So it's a bit of just moving away from it all. So that's G. Now it brings us to H. So H, I thought hard about H. H is hysterectomy, and the reason I say that is because I have two patients, well, actually I have a couple of patients now, more recently, who were going to go with that option because nothing else has worked and the family is complete. So she doesn't really need the womb, which is for bearing children. So for people like that, there is the option of just removing the womb, right? So if you have no womb, there's no way for your baby to grow, you cannot get pregnant. Now I is for injectables. Injectables will be things like your depot, the injection, the progesterone injection, which we can give every 3 months. So that is an injectable. So J is for jelly. Now, I mentioned the cervical cap. To make it even more effective, there's a spermicide gel, which is, just basically like a tube of, paste, which is also provided, which you apply. So that is spermicidal, it kills the sperm. So you have the barrier in place, and you also have something to kill any sperm that's determined to get through. So that's J is for jelly. And J is also for just in case this is all too much for you. You can't watch the video again. That's where you're on YouTube, right? So you can always play this back. So where I am, IJK. So K is for keep it in. When you've used the cervical cap or the diaphragm method, you're not meant to, after activity, remove it. You're meant to keep it in for a couple of hours afterwards, and you'll be advised on this so that you do not immediately dislodge it, because some of these little tadpoles might be moving about, ready to lunge in if you remove it too quickly. So that is K. So K is for keep it in. So L is for levonorgestrel or Levonel. So Levonel, I mentioned at emergency contraception, one of the well-known brands is Levonel, and that's best used, to be honest, the morning after, quite literally. But it can be used safely to about 48 hours, 72 hours. But the safest way and the most effective way to use an emergency contraception is in the 24 hours after the activity. So don't be offended when we ask you when exactly did you have this activity, sexual activity, because we need to time it to know what is the best one to give to you. Now M is for mommy. Listen to your mother's advice, but M actually is for Mirena. So Mirena is my favorite contraceptive method. It is a progesterone device which you put inside the womb, and I'm going to show you that. I don't have a video on Mirena, so I'm going to show you that. So that's that, and that's what it looks like. So it's what you call a coil. You can see the strings hanging. I hope you can see that. And this is my model of a womb, which I used to teach the patients when I'm going to explain to them the procedure before I do it. And then this Mirena is loaded in here. It's a bit loose from use, and then it goes in like that, and then you put it in. I hope I've measured this properly, and then I take it out. Okay, so it's come out again because it's a bit loose, but when we do it properly, it stays in. So that's the Mirena. This is a form of progesterone. There are other types as well. Actually, when I said K, keep it in, K is also for Kelina, which is the Mirena's younger sister. That's a 5-year product, but the Mirena now can go up to 8 years. So 8 years, and you're as good as being sterilized, and you have very light periods. What's not to like? I like this one, especially when you've been there, done that, you've had your kids and you don't want any more. This is as good as being sterilized without having the hysterectomy. So remember that. So where am I now? N. So N is for Nexplanon. Nexplanon is an implant, a subcutaneous implant. So what that means, subcutaneous means under your skin. So it's put under your skin and you keep it in there, and it lasts for 3 years, and it's one of my other favorites. But for the younger woman or the person who only needs 3 years of contraception, because it only lasts for 3 years, and so it has to be replaced. And I have about 4 or 5 videos on Nexplanon in my on my channel already, where I'm putting one in or taking one out, so you can always go back and learn more about that particular method. So that's N for next one. So that brings me to O. I mean, what's O for? I don't remember now. Let me see my list. I had a long list here of O. How can I forget? You guys should help me out here. O is the oral contraceptive pill, the one that revolutionized women's lives in the 1950s, where you could take a pill and not get pregnant. So that's the pill. It's still available. It's still out there. The downside with the pill is obviously people forget. So sometimes life is so busy, right? You might not remember to pop the pill in. Also, it's expensive. I hear women in Canada are paying $40, $50 a month for 1 month of the pill. So that's expensive, as opposed to the Mirena, which may be about $360 for 8 years. That's good value. Or the next one, which is $300 plus, and that lasts for 3 years. So the pill is still an option. Not an option if you have breast cancer, not an option if you have family history of breast cancer or strokes or aura. These are things that will be discussed when you come for contraception advice or counseling. Then now after O is P. What did I have down for P? P. Another one I really like is P. P for Provera. So you remember when I said injectable? So Depo-Provera is an injection that we give you, and that lasts 3 months. I personally do not like to give Depo for more than 2 years. It's a good method. It works. I have one woman who just wants Depo only. Just comes every 3 months, gets her shot, and off she goes, and it does the trick. But theoretically, it can cause low bone density, so you don't really want to be on Depo for more than 2 years. So you don't want to have, osteoporosis. So you can use that as a short gap where you're trying to think of what to do for more longer term methods, which we call LARC, long-acting reversible contraception method. So you can use the Depo while you're waiting, but it's a brilliant method, and it's every 3 months. I can't remember how much it costs in Canada, and yeah, but when you come, you can always find out from the pharmacy. So what's after P is Q. Oh yes, so Q is just a witty one. Q is standing the queue. So basically get in line for your own option, right? There's so many options I've listed so far, more to come. So just get in line, get in the queue for yours. And then we now have S. So S is for sterilization. So for the woman who doesn't want to have any more children, some people, when they're having their cesarean section, maybe it's been a very difficult birth, they've already completed their family, at that time we can just sterilize you. So to sterilize means we just basically cut the tubes, the fallopian tubes, we clip them so that they don't reconnect and there's no passage of the egg into your womb to get fertilized. So that is a method of sterilization. S is also for a spermicidal jelly, which we mentioned earlier. So those are 2 things for S. And I have to say, as a conscientious family planning and reproductive doctor, S is also for STI screening. So with the condoms, that's the benefit the condom has over all the other methods I've discussed, is that the condom is also useful for preventing you from not just getting pregnant, from getting infections. And so the S is for sterilization, spermicidal gel, and STI screening. You've got to be mindful, if you have a new partner, you could get an infection as well as a pregnancy. You've got to prevent that as well. Now T. So T is for copper T, which is the copper coil. So the copper coil is similar to this one here. It is loaded in this almost the same way. It comes in a sort of long handled tube like that with a copper coil just there. But in this case, let me see if I can get this one out. In this case, the copper is on the arms. You get the copper on the arms, copper, and also on the body. There, let's see if we can get this one out. Doesn't want to come out. Okay, there it is. So you get the copper round, the copper rings, is actual copper rings. And so the copper is useful for women who love to see their periods and will be freaked out if they didn't have a period, which is what the Mirena will probably do to you at some point. Either give you light bleeds or no bleeds. The copper coil will give you regular bleeds. So it's inserted in the same way through the vagina. You can see that into the womb there. They go in the same way, but the copper coil is for women who do not want any hormones. So it has copper instead, not a hormone. I'm playing around with this. I need to get it fixed for my next lecture, live lecture. Okay, so that's the copper. So copper T is the popular brand. It also comes in as Mona Lisa, I think in Canada, but Nigeria and UK certainly is copper tea, and it can last 5 years. They even have a 10-year one as well, so it's quite a good method for those women who do not mind having a heavier bleed, which it could give you, and who do not want any hormones, but who want long-term reversible contraception. Okay, so that's T. So after T is U. So U is for Ulipristal. So I mentioned emergency contraception, and I gave an example of Levanel. So Levanel, as I said, was up to 72 hours effective, but Ulipristal beats that. It goes up to 5 days, so 120 hours, if my math serves me right. So Ulipristal is out there as a contraceptive method, and so if you've had, any contraception failure, and you present within 5 days or 120 hours to be precise, then you could use that particular method. So that's Ulipristal. So UVV, one for the guys, or another one for the guys. V is vasectomy. So like I said about that young man who came to me and said, I just want to have a vasectomy. So vasectomy is a procedure where similar is a sterilization procedure. So in the woman I mentioned, fallopian clips being clipped, in the vasectomy, you get a similar clipping of the genitals, well, not the external genitals, of the epididymis, I think it is. I'm not a vasectomy expert, but I have colleagues who are well versed in this procedure who I refer my male patients to. But that would mean you need to be aware, guys out there, that means do not expect to then become a father. You've got to go into a sterilization method, vasectomy or what have you, with the idea that this is it, I'm done, I've had the snip, I'm not going to have any more children. Of course, with modern science, people do try to reverse, but the failure rate is very high still, and even in the best of hands. And so you've got to have the mindset that this is it, no more kids. So if you you're ready for that decision, then that could be a method for you. UVWW. So what's W for? So W, let me see. I don't remember what I wrote down for W. Let's have a look. Glasses on. This is where the mom in me is going to come up. W is for wising up. Wising up. You got to be wise about these things. I think I'll say no more. You know what it means. Be smart, right? You don't want a baby. Wising up. Now, X is for excellent methods. So I hope I've convinced you that there are excellent methods out there that you can use. And I reminded you that just in case I'm too fast or it's too much to take in at once, you can watch it again. And that brings me to the next letter, which is Y. Y is now your choice. Because there's a lot of, talk about your choice and women's rights and the body. Well, of course you have a choice. Everybody has a choice. And so I've given you lots of options. Surely one of them will take your fancy for contraception. And Z is the last letter of the alphabet. And I've just put there Zoom. What would we do without Zoom? So Zoom meetings, I'm available if you want me to teach your small group, if you want me to explain to your larger group a particular method, or just to go through this with an opportunity for you to ask questions, then please do not hesitate to reach out to me, Dr. Noni, on YouTube. Just send me an email or send me a comment and I'll reach out to you. So I hope with all these methods, I've been able to sort of shed some light on what is out there for contraception, which is not getting pregnant, right? And you've seen that there are methods for male and for female. I have purposely not mentioned termination of pregnancy because that is not contraception. That is an act for you have bolted the stable after the horse has escaped. So what we're trying to do is let the horse not escape in the first place, or in other words, prevention being better than cure. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. I look forward to hearing your reactions. I look forward to taking more questions, and feel free, I'm available for small bookings or large bookings as the case may be. Thank you. Like, share, subscribe, and share this message. It's so important that people know the options out there. Even if you are in the developing countries, you can get condoms, or you can even have the implant, which I forgot to mention as part of my subcutaneous implants. So there's a video about that on my channel as well. The implant is more available in Nigeria and I believe some other African countries. It's just the next one with 2 rods rather than the 1. But there's so much choice out there. I've mentioned cost as well, where I've known what the value is or what it costs. But I have to say thumbs up and kudos to the UK, my country of birth, who provide contraception free. And I think that's the main thing. If contraception is available, it's free for people, then we won't be having all these debates about pro-life and pro-choice, because we all know, right, what the right thing to do is, eh? Okay, so I'll leave that with you. You think about it, you make your own mind up, and till next time, God bless. Bye.
That I've gotta make a change. I don't care if I break, at least